We're going to talk about how you can take proper tax deductions. There are 6 P's. They are place, point in time, the purchase amount, the present documentation we call it so we can get another P in there, and then the person. This is a really important part to know if this is a valid deduction. Okay, guys, so this is the time that everyone is thinking about taxes. So we're going to take the next couple episodes on the show and talk a little bit about how you can keep more of your money. Most people don't know this, but actually in 2021, the very first thing I ever posted on TikTok went viral. It got over 1.5 million views in just a matter of days. I had over 40,000 followers. And what was this amazing piece of content that I posted? It was just a tax tip that I had been using for 20 years as a business owner. So today we're going to take some time to talk about the things that you could be doing to keep more money in your pocket. And these specifically, of course, are going to be for business owners because I know we have 90% of everyone that listens to the show are entrepreneurs, but we're also going to talk about in the next couple episodes things that are also applicable to people who don't have a business. Now, this specific one, we're going to talk about how you can take proper tax deductions. And this is really important if you do have a business because nobody wants to get that dreaded audit from the IRS. If you ever find yourself that you are going to be audited or that you're going to have to go to tax court, this is something that you are going to want to know and you're going to want to have done correctly and properly to maximize your deductions so that you don't ever have an issue. So I often talk about there are 6 P's to taking a proper tax deduction. And when I say proper tax deduction, it means the ones that if anything ever happens and you have to show proof of that's a valid deduction for your business, that you have all of your ducks in a row. And here's what they are. Most receipts are going to have 4 of them, but there are 2 things that are never there that's going to take you in order to make sure that they're tagged correctly. So let's go over what they are. They are place, point in time, the purchase amount, the documentation, the present documentation we call it so we can get another P in there, and then the person. And the last one is purpose, right? Who were you with and what was the purpose of this write-off? This one is really important. Those last 2 are really important, especially for meetings. If you're doing meals with someone, what was the purpose of going out to eat? And who were you with? These 6 factors are really critical in making sure that it's a valid expense that can be deducted on your taxes. So let's start with the first one, place. When you make a purchase, it's potentially tax deductible. It's important to note where that purchase took place. Most times that's going to be right on the purchase order or the receipt. However, different rules apply to business purchases made within or outside of your own home country. The next P stands for point in time, really just date. This refers to when you made the purchase and when it becomes eligible for a tax deduction. Generally speaking, most purchases must be made in the applicable tax year in order for them to be eligible for a deduction. The third P is the purchase amount, how much you actually paid. Now, generally speaking, the IRS is only going to deem things as business expenses if they are ordinary and necessary for your business, your industry, and your profession. So let's say a computer, which is something that every business needs, is usual, necessary, and ordinary for a business. But let's say you have a salon and you're buying a lawnmower, but your place is in the city and you're on the 15th floor. Well, that's probably not going to be an ordinary and necessary expense for your business, so it wouldn't be eligible for a deduction. There are, of course, certain limits on the amount of deductions that you can take, but always make sure that you have all proper documentation in place so that you can take as many as you can to reduce your taxable income. The fourth P is present documentation. This is perhaps the most important of all of them because you need to have the records in order to support the claim. This includes the receipt, the invoice, the canceled check, any documentation that shows the amount, the date, the place, and the business purpose of that expense. Now, the fifth P is, again, really important when you're doing meals or any type of meetings or entertainment expenses. This is the person. Who were you with when you incurred the expense? That's an important part. Now, if you're out purchasing a car, you don't need to put who you were with, but for a meal deduction specifically, this is really important. This will determine if part of that expense is attributed to that person, you, and what it was all about. And last but not least, there's purpose. What was the reason for the purchase? If you are having a meeting or you're out having meals, you always want to put, was this a business meeting? Was this your board of directors meetings, right? And on all of your other receipts for regular purchases that are not meals, putting what is the nature of this expense. That is really important. So again, if you ever get audited or you ever have to show up at tax court, or you just have to send documentation as to why you purchased that item, you're able to substantiate that it's a valid deduction. In conclusion, the 6 Ps are just going to serve as a valuable guide to make sure that you have everything you need for your documentation to maximize your tax deductions when it comes to business expenses. Look, I am all for keeping as much money as you can and keeping it out of the IRS hands, but there's a way that you can do it so that you can make it a valid tax deduction. Keep the 6 Ps in mind in order to keep more of your money, and we're going to dive into more tax tips in upcoming episodes.